What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Rasslin. This is my review for the August 24th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the House of Wrestling drops their latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, this was a fun Dynamite. Few things that were just like, yeah, but other than that, it was a fun Dynamite. Before I get into the results and break down what I liked and kind of didn't care too much for in this episode, I just want to thank you guys for your thoughts and prayers regarding my dad. There's reason why I didn't record anything for a whole week. My dad underwent a very serious surgery. He's doing okay. He's well. He's home. He's resting, recovering. But thank you guys for your thoughts and prayers. I really appreciate it. I actually was planning on holding off doing reviews till Clash of the Castle and All Out, but I felt really good, and I'm like, you know what? Everything's somewhat good right now. Let me rephrase that. Not somewhat good. Everything is good right now. I'm like, you know what? I got to do a review of AEW and professional wrestling. So there might be another one this Friday. But man, thank you guys for the love, the support on all social media platforms. I really appreciate it. But man, let's get into this AEW Dynamite, because this Dynamite went in with a lot of intrigue, questions. There was rumors. There was talk of a talent meeting before the show. And this Dynamite did not disappoint in things you had to talk about after this show. It did not disappoint. A lot of good. Some, could have put on Rampage or even Elevation. But, hey, it is what it is. This is going to be a very interesting AEW All Out this year. I'm looking forward to it because there's a lot of questions and we don't know who the fuck's going to wrestle Jon Moxley. Basically, that's it. So here is the results for the AEW Dynamite for August 24th, 2022. The opening match, Jay Lethal defeated Dax Hardwood. The second match, Colton Gunn defeated his dad, Billy Gunn. Ooh-wee. The third match, Britt Baker defeat Kylie King. The fourth match, Jon Moxley defeated CM Punk, and you know what that means, and you know what they were wrestling for. So I'll get into that later. Then in the main event, you had Will Ospreay and the Aussie Open defeat the Death Triangle in a very, very just bonkers, banger, fire, lit, whatever you want to call it. That was a fantastic main event for AEW Dynamite. But that is the results for AEW Dynamite. We started this off with Chris Jericho coming out. There was a loud Judas in Your Mind chant from the crowd. I thought this was pretty interesting that they started this off with a promo. The way the card looked, it just felt like, okay, they're going to start off with, the Aussie, the Trios tournament match. That's just something I personally felt. Maybe many others may have probably felt like, man, you know what? They might go this route and they'll leave Punk and Moxley in the main event. And they really, up until the Britt Baker, Kylie King match, that's the assumption. It wasn't until they did a backstage review or interview with the Death Triangle and the Aussie Open where Tony Schiavone kind of mentioned, yeah, this is the main event. It was like, wait, what? And it really, for me, it threw me off. Not in a bad way, but just like, that's interesting. Wow, this is really interesting how they're going about this. And Moxley and Punk were before the main event, which was just very interesting. But man, Jericho comes out. It's an energetic crowd. The crowd is chanting. Garcia comes out, and he basically tells Chris Jericho, you ruined my moment with the guy that I looked up to as a kid. Bryan Danielson, and you being my mentor, this is, this sucks. Then you had the crowd chanting, you are a wrestler chant. Bryan Danielson comes out and he looks at Daniel Garcia and he tells him, you can be whatever you want to be. He pushes Jericho. It just felt like he was going to turn right tonight. Like he was just going to turn and go with Bryan Danielson. It's also heavily speculated that eventually Daniel Garcia is going to join the Blackpool Combat Club, which after tonight, you see it. Daniel Garcia, he pushes Jericho down. He leaves. Then you have Danielson and Jericho just having words with each other. And then they announce it. Jericho says it. September 4th, we're getting Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson. It hasn't been official yet, but that is the match that is out there with Jericho and Danielson going back and forth. Look forward to that match. This is already the second time, or you could say the second feud, where Jericho has mentioned, I'm the Lion Tamer. So it does feel like Jericho being a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society lately, it seems like he's going back to the Lion Tamer. I don't know if this is like the end of Chris Jericho's career or he's winding it down, but it does feel like it's almost like full circle. Like he's reinvented himself and it's like this part of his career, it's like he's going back to the Lion Tamer, which anybody who grew up in the 80s and 90s and the Monday Night Wars, that's how we were introduced to Chris Jericho in ECW and WCW as the Lion Tamer. So I don't know. It's just interesting that he's mentioned that already and where this is playing out. I like this opening segment. I think the verbiage and the interaction could have been a little bit tighter, where it could have been just fluid. There's a lot of parts of this show where it was good, but the fluidity was like, it was just really slight clunky. Like it was just I don't know. It was good, but it just could have been better. So you had that Jericho Danielson. If that's the match that more than likely is going to be at All Out in Chicago, that is going to be a fun match to watch. If we saw Chris Jericho do what he did with Moxley as the Lion Tamer in the match he had, was it last week or a few weeks ago? Forgive me, guys. With Bryan Danielson, that's going to be a very fun match. Very entertaining match. I don't expect it to be something from 2009 or anything like that, or 2012, but it is going to be a very entertaining match. So then we move on to the first match, Dax Harwood, Jay Lethal. What I liked about this match was the chain wrestling. Man, Dax Harwood, Jay Lethal, and of course, there's a lot of people that don't care too much for Jay Lethal, but that's another issue and that's another video. But man, in this match and in the ring, they did some things that was just so cool to see. I haven't seen it in a while. You do see it somewhat in Dax Harwood's single matches, but man, this was fun. The chain wrestling, a lot of near falls. There was a sequence where they were trading chops, and I gotta say, this was probably one of the best parts of a match where they traded chops, and it was just like fluid. Like you heard that. It was like, damn. But in the end, Jay Lethal, Dax Harwood tried to do a roll up. Jay Lethal pulled the trunks, did the roll up, held the trunks, 1, 2, 3. Jay Lethal defeats Dax Harwood. And then after the match, you get this big brawl. You get Sanjay Dutt. He walks up the ramp. Him and Jay Lethal are talking to FTR, and then he's like, you idiots didn't know that we're getting a trios match, but you don't know who the partners are. It's not me. It's not Satnam Singh, but I'm just going to give you any points of the screen, and we're getting Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal versus Dax Hardwood and Wardlow. That's going to be a fun match. It's going to be interesting to see who tries to maneuver or match Wardlow's strength with that trio. But hey, power, speed, athleticism, technical wrestling, we're probably going to get every style of wrestling in this match at All Out. That's a match. Interesting. Looking forward to it. Should be good. Then we get a backstage segment with Thunder Rosa and Tony Schiavone. And I don't know what's going on in the women's division. You guys know I've mentioned it over and over again. Ways that they can improve the division. I don't know what they're going to do after. I hope it improves after All Out, that it's a starting point. But this whole year, this women's division, the booking and how AEW has utilized the women's division has regressed to where they have to put some stuff together and bring people out. This is not. This is, man. I don't know what to say, but this is crazy. So Thunder Rosa announces that she's stepping down as the AEW Women's Champion due to injury. And on September 4th, there will be an interim Women's Champion in a Fatal 4-Way. That Fatal 4-Way, we're getting Toni Storm, we're getting Jamie Hayter, we're getting Britt Baker, and we are getting, oh my God, who is Hikaru Shida? Yes. So that is going to be that should be a good match. That's the unfortunate thing about the women's division. They have good matches, but the storylines are like non-existent. Like the interest, like their involvement and their utilization on Rampage and Dynamite is like non-existent. Like it's there. It's unfortunate with Thunder Rosa. I hope she gets well soon. I don't know. This is just really, man, if AEW had a consistent, cohesive, and very utilized women's division in AEW would have a lot more viewers, because it is very glaring that there's the men's division, and then the women's division is just like one match and just a few it doesn't feel cohesive. It's very divided, which it shouldn't be. I know some people, well, it's 3 years, they should get it together. Yes, that is true, but also they should do. It's unfortunate that I'm saying this, but they should at least be doing the bare minimum with the women's division. And it really doesn't feel like they're doing the bare minimum. It just feels like they're doing below minimum. And it's frustrating for a lot of fans. And I get it, especially female fans. It's just like, wait a minute, why are you... There needs to be more women's matches. For me, there definitely needs to be more women on this roster being utilized more. They can do it. I don't know what the issue is as far as utilizing it. I hope it improves after AEW All Out, but we'll see what happens. So yes, Thunder Rosa has stepped down as the AEW Women's Champion. Then we go to Colton Gunn and Billy Gunn. This is a match, quite honestly, they should have had on Rampage. The way this show played out, after Thunder Rosa's match, they should have had the Britt Baker Kylie King match after this, because it would have made so much sense. And with the emotion from Thunder Rosa's backstage segment, it would have tied into the Britt Baker Kylie King, and of course Britt Baker's in the match, so that's where I really feel like this like really didn't. The show was flowing, and then it's like this Thunder Rosa promo and Colton Gunn like Billy Gunn match, like it was off. Like it was really off. Max Caster came out with Billy Gunn. Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, the Acclaim, they came out. He referenced Joe Biden clearing student debt. He referenced the talent meeting that they had before the show that was reported. He had a condom reference. He did get like nobody reacted to the talent meeting. It was just like, all right. But man, this match should have been on Rampage. Honestly, you could say Dark Elevation, and it's not a knock at Colton Gunn or Billy Gunn. It's just how interested in the intrigue from the fan, how much intrigue there is from the fans in this feud, and there's not a lot. Like, people love the Acclaim, but it's like this feud, a lot of people are just like, okay, can like the Acclaim move on to something else, because it just feels like they're at another level than the Gun Club, and it's like you should start separating them from each other and just, ascend, move up the Acclaim to, your top tag teams in the division. So that's my take. Colton Gunn won with a low blow, the Colt 45 he put on his father, Billy Gunn. Post match, you got Colton and Austin Gunn. They take Stokely Hathaway's card, and Stokely Hathaway was at ringside. He's what pretty much caused the whole distraction for Billy Gunn losing to his son Colton. So they take his card. Now that's another interesting thing. You have Ethan Page, and I'm trying to think of who else does Stokely Hathaway have. So he's putting something together. I hope everything just starts taking off after All Out, because it just feels like everything that's happened, you could say, with all the injuries and it just feels like everything from Full Gear to Cody Rhodes leaving to, the whole Forbidden Door. It just feels like this is the culmination at All Out. Like, there's probably going to be a new era happening after All Out, which I hope so, because, man, there's parts of AEW that has progressed, and then there's parts of AEW that hasn't done anything. It just hasn't moved up or down, and then there's other parts of AEW that just regressed. We'll see what happens, but Colton and Austin, they're beating up their dad, and then you have Swerve and Keith Lee make the save for Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed. Later on, we get a backstage interview with the Acclaimed. Get into that later. Get a backstage segment next with the Will Ospreay and the Aussie Open and Death Triangle, basically hyping up their match. We go from there to Britt Baker versus Kylie King. There's a bunch of Pittsburgh sucks chants. Reason why: they were in Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers have a big rivalry. More historically, don't want to get into the football thing, but Pittsburgh has been dominating that feud for a while. So, I mean, I'm not knocking it, but it is the truth. So she wins. She beats Kylie King with the lockjaw. She basically goes in. When I was champ, I wrestled with a broken wrist. My entire title reign. So it was kind of like a shot at Thunder Rosa. Of course, there's reports that it was against script, that whole thing, whatever, it is what it is. The crowd is really booing Britt Baker. Starts beating up Kylie King. You get Tony Storm coming out Britt Baker's talking about the whole Fatal 4-Way. She's coming out. She's beating up um, Britt Baker. You have that. You have Jamie Hayter. They're attacking her. Then Hikaru Shida comes down with the kendo stick. It's good to see her. But like I said, man, this segment should have happened right after the Thunder Rosa announcement. It would have just made it. It would have been more cohesive with the women's division instead of separating it in between the Colton Gunn and Billy Gunn thing, because that really, outside the Max Caster rap, like the match was just bleh. Like it wasn't really. It's like, okay, he got one up on his dad. Like it really didn't have any extra seasoning or sizzle to it. It was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, they should have had this. I just hope they fix this women's division, because man, there's a lot of talent, but the intrigue that was there months ago is like very minimal to non-existent for the AEW women's division, and that's very unfair. It should not be that way. It's 2022. Granted, maybe one of their obstacles and issues is that they don't want to copy WWE and they don't want to copy Impact Wrestling, which have the two biggest and best women's rosters in the United States. Of course, you have Stardom, which is a fantastic women's promotion. But I don't know what it's unfortunate, but it does feel like they're still trying to find their identity with the talent that they have. Maybe they want to do something very unique and different and just don't know how to do it where it isn't copying WWE or Impact Wrestling, which I do see that. It makes sense in some ways, but then in some ways it's just like, okay, just do, like, you got to figure out something, man, because it's more than glaring than it was a year ago. Then we get a backstage segment with Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland, and the Acclaim. Max Caster basically tells them we're the best homegrown talent. They issue a challenge for All Out, which I'm shocked. I was anticipating FTR and Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland for the titles, but with the 6-man tag and this, it is what it is. Plus, also, we do got to keep in mind that AEW does have Grand Slam right after All Out, so they could be possibly holding off on some other big matches for Grand Slam instead of putting everything there. Because Grand Slam last year was basically what sold that was Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. Like, that's what sold Grand Slam. So they may be wanting to have a bigger match selection as far as depth, as far as matches for the fans at Grand Slam, where it's not just one major match, where there's several major matches. I don't know. We'll see. Then we get Jon Moxley versus CM Punk. The crowd is heavily booing CM Punk. In this match, CM Punk does a high leg kick to Jon Moxley's head. He starts favoring his foot that is healed, or what have you. Moxley starts working it over. He twists it. He does the Death Rider like twice. Goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Jon Moxley beat CM Punk within minutes. Didn't see that coming. It was very shocking. I know there's some people, oh, this is terrible booking. And other people like, oh, why was it, so short? Other people, oh, CM Punk, Tony Khan is doing something to CM Punk, teaching him a lesson. There's so many ways people have interpreted this. For me, I look at it, AEW is building to something, definitely for All Out, because it's, of course, next week, but they're building something that could happen at AEW's Grand Slam. I don't know, man. This is very interesting. I did not expect this to go down this way. I did not expect CM Punk to uh, lose so quickly. I was anticipating for being the main event and going at least maybe 20 minutes. Um, but it is what it is, and we'll get into Moxley's promo later. So John Moxley is the AEW World Champion. There's no interim with it. AEW. It's hard again right now as I'm processing this. It's hard for me to like gauge what to interpret from this because it's really unexpected. But I can tell you there is a lot of intrigue. There is a lot of intrigue on who will face John Moxley at All Out, how that's going to happen, who, like, this was supposed to be the, many people anticipated this being the main event for All Out. Like, we don't know what the hell's going to happen at All Out. Who's going to show up? Who's going to fight for Moxley? Like I said, this, to some people, it can come off as chaotic, oh, they botched this story. They, oh, this is so stupid. To other people, it's like, man, this is very intriguing. They like it because you don't know what is going to happen, where this is going to go, who's going to fight who. You have to tune in to watch, which they're saying it, but without saying it. So I can see both sides, but man, this has me very interested to see what's going to happen. We get a backstage segment with Christian Cage. He basically challenges Jungle Boy at All Out. We get an in-ring promo with Ricky Starks. He basically breaks down I had to deal with FTW title, Hobbs turning on me, Team Taz breaking up, my injury. This dude, referring to Powerhouse Hobbs, he checked on me when I had my neck injury. I should have picked up on it when you turned on a nightmare, which I love that subtle reference to Cody Rhodes. That was so cool. Stark is crying. Very passionate promo, and then he drops a New Jack City reference. This is going to be dope. He issues a challenge for Powerhouse Hobbs at All Out. Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs at All Out. Very entertaining. I can see with a lot of these matches, the build could have been a little bit more refined. There is a story, but it wasn't. That's a common theme with a lot of these stories going into All Out. Like, it's one of the most, if you could use the term, convoluted builds to a pay-per-view where it's enjoyable, it's entertaining, it's intriguing, but it's like it's not a smooth ride, it's very bumpy. Like, you're just, like, if you're, you travel somewhere, it's like, oh man, okay, can we get on, like, okay, man, let me close my eyes and just eventually we'll get there. And that's how it feels. Very interesting how this, wish they would have given more time. Again, I've said this before, they need to reformat AEW Elevation and have that be their third show. It's already an hour and a half, more than an hour and a half, so why not do it? Then we get the John Moxley promo. He talks about how people have written him off. Nobody can do what he does. People are talking about when is their time, and he uses the phrase, "My time is now." And at first it's like, tongue-in-cheek, John Cena. Then he says it again. Then he says it again. It's like, interesting. Bleacher Report, Rasslin, you go on their Twitter account, they have Moxley's video or his picture, and they have "My time is now" in big quotations. We'll see what happens with there. I'm not going to say it's, man, that's all I got to say. I do know that when last year when Darby Allin mentioned I want to wrestle the best in the world. It was similar quotations and headings. So don't know what's going to happen. Both were references to former WWE guys. I don't know. We'll see what happens at All Out. Are we going to get another surprise? And not any surprise, like possibly one of the biggest surprises in AEW history. This surprise could probably top CM Punk's return. I'll just leave it at that. That's all I got to say. We'll see what happens as this unfolds going into All Out. Then the main event, we got Ospreay and the Aussie Open versus Death Triangle. Man, this match, I got to watch it again. Because there was some stuff that they did in this match that I'm just like, yo, that... Did I just see what? This was a fast-paced match. I like the triple dive on the outside. Throughout this whole match, you had "This is awesome" chants. JR, I love this subtle hint. He's like, man, I wish, Ospreay would sign with AEW so we could see more of his matches because, man, this guy's clinic. And that's, of course, you're going to have the people that, there's no rules. They're not paying attention to the rules. Why should I believe this? What? It's entertainment, man. Like, I enjoyed this. It made sense. This was a fun match. This was a great main event. The crowd was into it. It was you had to watch what they did. And again, the moves that Rey Fenix, Will Ospreay, and Pac did in this match, me describing it, even attempting to describe it, does it no justice, man. This was a fantastic match. Go back and watch it. One of the many spots that I liked was the double backward Hurricane Rana that Ospreay and Pac did. So Ospreay did it to the Lucha Brothers, and Pac did it to Aussie Open. And it was like at the same time, boom, boom. That was a thing of beauty, man. I love that. Towards the end of the match, you had someone sitting at ringside with a box over their head, which if you haven't noticed or anything, that's happened to Pac with the title defense of the All-Atlantic Championship. It was basically Kip Sabian. Pac removes the box. It's not Sabian. Sabian comes out, attacks Pac. He does I believe almost like a suplex or something like that on the outside. Pac goes inside. The Will Ospreay and the Aussie Open. Will Ospreay performs the Aussie Cutter. 1, 2, 3. Will Ospreay and the Aussie Open win. So you have that. They have their New Japan Strong titles. Music hits. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks come out to the ring. So you have this stare down between Ospreay and Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega has been planting this whole feud for several months. He had an interview with Sean Ross Sapp a few months ago where he pretty much buried Will Ospreay. And it's like, And he kind of casually like, this is probably going to get me in trouble or, it's going to draw me heat. Voila. Next week, we're getting Aussie Open and Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. That is going to be a dope match. That match is probably going to be the main event. Ospreay and Kenny Omega. Whoo boy. Man. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I like the ending. But overall, man, this show was fun. Again, the Colton Gunn, Billy Gunn, that could have been on Rampage. The Britt Baker, Kylie King match should have been right after the Thunder Rosa announcement. Decent show. The Moxley thing surprised me. I did not anticipate this. Like I said earlier in this review, I'm really interested to see where. Let me phrase that. Not where. I'm really interested to see how AEW's All Out pay-per-view plays out, because there's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of questions that are unanswered. There's a lot of things that are like, well, this person hasn't been announced for a match. It has been a very, to some fans, I could see them being frustrated with the build. To other fans, I could see them being like, man, this is a very unorthodox way of building a pay-per-view. For me, I'm kind of in the middle of both. Like, it could have been better built, but then at the same time, it's like, man, this is unorthodox, but it has me. I'm attentive, and especially with Jon Moxley's promo, I'm shocked that more people haven't paid attention to it and really, like, are they hinting towards it? Are they really hinting towards it? Of course, you have those bot accounts, such and such is confirmed. AEW, it's like, no, you can't do that. But there is a very big similar, like I mentioned earlier, between Darby Allin saying he's the best in the world, or it doesn't matter if you're the best in the world, to Jon Moxley using "My Time Is Now" repeatedly. It's very similar. Will it have similar results? We just have to wait and see next week and at All Outs. But overall, man, this some solid matches. The first match was solid. The main event was solid. Just wish there was more correlation between Thunder Rosa's promo and Britt Baker. Really got to pick up the intrigue in the women's division and give them some momentum and just some depth, because there's a lot of talent there, but it's not being utilized very well. But man, next week we're gonna get Will Ospreay in the Aussie Open versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. A lot of stuff happening in AEW, man. Some very good, some others you could do better. But that's what all wrestling companies. So it is what it is. But that is my review for the August 24th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Hit the notification for House of Wrestling on YouTube, so that way you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops the latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, with everything going on in the world, enjoy professional wrestling, because there's a lot to choose from, and a lot of them are stepping up their game. So, with that, I am out.